Hi, my name is Julie EasterwoodParks, and today I close my communications class with my final speech of Guillain-Barré syndrome. Guillain-Barré syndrome is an autoimmune illness that, if not checked right, and in a lot of people's cases, what will happen is a perfectly healthy individual can contract an illness like a stomach bug or a virus of some kind, poorly cooked chicken, or being around someone that's got a really bad case of the flu. Well, you contracted in your body, a healthy body, and for whatever reasons that are still unknown, the body turns itself against you. And depending on at what point you're diagnosed with this particular illness, this particular autoimmune illness, forgive me, depending on the time of the diagnosis, depends on whether or not how quickly you recover from it. There are many people that have minor cases of Guillain-Barré and after 2 or 3 months are back up and moving again. And then there are people that are like me, in my case. Today I'd like to show you, and I don't like to show this to many people, but this is actually my manual wheelchair. I use it around the house and when I go out in public, and it's not what they call a street wheelchair. It's actually a manual wheelchair. And when I was going through physical therapy, which you do a lot of when you're contracted with such an illness, you use things like this. This is a knee brace. I have one for both knees, and I have braces for both hands, depending on what kind of activity I've got going on at the moment, whether or not what kind of support I need. But in short, Guillain-Barré syndrome is a horrible, horrible illness that affects a lot of young Americans. Whether white, brown, yellow, or black, it doesn't matter your race. It affects typically people in the range of about 25 to about 45, which is usually young adults, if you will. One piece of information I would like to pass on to anyone that's actually listening to this presentation outside of my professor is www.cnn.com. Sorry. Search President Franklin Roosevelt / Guillain-Barré syndrome. Guillain apostrophe Barre with a little thing above it. And actually there's pretty much conclusive evidence outside of being able to do an autopsy on President Roosevelt himself that he actually had contracted Guillain-Barré syndrome. In 1921, he was actually diagnosed at the age of 39 with, at that point in time, many physicians and doctors and hospitals and all over the world. At that point in time, Guillain-Barré syndrome was pretty much like the sister, if you will, to polio. But the big difference in polio and Guillain-Barré syndrome even now is the fact that with polio, even in the 1920s and 30s and 40s, it was still hitting children, not middle-aged adults. And what they are now showing, even through CNN's website and others, Mayo Clinic is another one that you can look at, the Mayo, MAYO.com clinic, and Google Guillain-Barré. It is another site that is also actually supporting the theory. It's, outside of an autopsy, as I said, it's supporting the theory that President Theodore Roosevelt had, Franklin Roosevelt, I am so screwing this up right now, I apologize, that he did actually have Guillain-Barré syndrome. Now, back to my original point, the whole gist of this speech. Guillain-Barré syndrome, it will change your life forever. It will affect the lives of your children and your grandchildren, because an autoimmune illness is something that you carry genetically with you. You will always have some kind of a weakness or predisposition, if you will, of having the possibility, if it's carried in your family, of you actually contracting such an illness. My mother has fibromyalgia. I have myself that has Guillain-Barré. I have a sister that has rheumatoid arthritis. So there's a lot of illnesses that are out there that all of us need to be aware of. And I've enjoyed this time speaking with you. And again, I apologize if I've stammered or struggled through this particular last final, but it's a serious illness, and unless you want to ride around in one of these for a really long time, get tested. If you're sick, have someone fight a battle for you, and have just simple blood work drawn and be tested. Thank you very much, and I do hope at some point and throughout this whole presentation that you've learned just a little bit about Guillain-Barré. Thank you.